And for me at that moment, I was gripping onto the business where I want to move forward personally. Got like some goals, and I'm very subject to, let's say, distraction or losing momentum. And I'm like, I'm afraid of that. I don't want that to happen. So I'm like in this place where I'm like holding on tight to that. And I just was able to witness myself doing it and realize like, oh, I'm going to spend this whole float just no different from how I was before I came in. That's a shame. It's like I should really take advantage of what this gift is, which is an opportunity to safely let it go and
Mm.
just let it go and trust.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Float Practice. Today I'm sitting down with Ryan, who has been quietly working away at building an incredible space over the last 9 years. Float Station, he is the owner of, in Campbell, California. And we're going to be talking about his experience with floating, why he ended up building this very unique, transformative business, and really both our perspectives on what floating is really doing for the world at this time. So, welcome, Ryan. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Bryce. Right on. Happy to be here. And yeah, excited to share what I can about my journey and floating and why I think it's important. And yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah, we were having a really interesting conversation before this. I feel like that always happens. I had a different podcast a long time ago, and I remember that was almost always the case. I feel like I hear a lot of other people talking about that. You just recently are getting back deeper into your practice. Do you want to share a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, full transparency, that's putting it generously. I think I'm like excavating my practice. I mean,
Mm,
I buried it for quite a while. I moved a fair distance away from our center, so I'm like an hour and a half away. And, I I go there and back for technical reasons, fixing stuff, putting out fires, that type of thing. And yeah, really found that I got quite disconnected from the actual experience of the business from the customer's perspective. And so and also failed to continue to get the benefits of floating. And so I've reconnected with that recently. And, I'm reminded of how powerful it is, why I got into this in the first place. Cause it's easy to kind of get sidetracked and only wear like the business hat and to be
mm,
taken care of all the different responsibilities that are associated with it, and to lose the personal connection with how this really benefits a person, how it can benefit yourself if you're doing it. And so it's been really powerful to reconnect with that. Yeah, so I can't say enough about the value that I see in actually reconnecting personally with what exactly it is that I'm doing, and not just executing tasks.
mm. And yeah, I mean, like what was it early on? Was it like I hear a lot of people talk about it was the first float and I came out and I'm like, I'm just doing this. And it maybe didn't happen right
Yeah,
away. But there
yeah,
was like that quick conviction, whether the first, maybe it took a couple floats, but yeah, what was the moment for you when it's not it's a very big thing. Like there's no roadmap. It's a very strange
right,
business. We kind of joke, you're like the weirdo who floats. What does that mean in your
right.
community? So like, what was the shift for you that put you on that path?
I mean, for me, I was really primed to love it and to be excited about it. The seed was planted when I was a literal child. I was like
Mm.
10, 11 years old, and it was a neighbor that told me about the concept of it.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was floating as we know it today wasn't a thing then, but he knew of sensory deprivation from John C. Lilly's work back in the late 50s, early 60s, whatever. And so I thought it was really a fascinating idea, and it always stuck with me, and wanted to try it. And it kind of had an intuition that it was kind of related to the benefits of meditation, which I
Mm.
always found incredibly difficult because I lack discipline. So the discipline needed to keep a good practice going like that. So, anyways, so at a very difficult kind of crossroads in my life, almost out of desperation, that idea popped back in my head as something that I really wanted to do. I thought maybe, well, that could having that experience might do something, right? It was just always planted as a seed in my mind as a big deal, ironically, because it's definitely become a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And so I happened to find a place where there was a float tank back in, I guess this was 2014, 2013. That was like not too far from where I live,
Okay.
maybe like an hour and a half away in the mountains. Super cool. And yeah, had a first float, and it was incredible. It was truly incredible. The boundarylessness or boundary
Mm.
dissolving experience, that aspect of it, which I found a lot of parallels to other consciousness expanding experiences that I've had.
Mm.
And I thought that parallel was remarkable to be able to touch that, to tap that place in a safe environment legally. and and whatnot was really special. And I thought that, and because I'd always thought that, you know, that experience, the alternate means of the nuclear option to really expand oneself is very powerful, almost a rite of passage. It's almost at that level. And I always felt from my own personal experiences with that was something I wish everyone could experience. And I thought that
Mm.
that would be difference making in the world. And that was, one of the very deepest feelings I had from that. And so, anyways, to see some connection to that come through floating was really something. And so it was a great experience for that reason. It was a great experience for other reasons. Physically, it was totally relieving. I was doing a lot of running at the time, and yeah, it was just to be in a state of zero gravity for an hour and change, and no light. I mean, no light. It's so dark. You keep your eyes wide open, and there's just no different from you have to check. You have to remind yourself, are my eyes open or closed? You're like, oh, like they're open.
Yeah.
You're like, wow. And then just to feel your body just disappear, to feel the water become indistinguishable from the air as
Mm.
you're floating in it. You kind of divided in half, and by the water, it's essentially so half of you's out of the water, half of you's in the water, but it becomes a moot point when you can feel neither.
Yeah.
uh, so that was itself fascinating, and coming out of the experience, um, and many amazing things happened during it. But afterwards, one of the things I was most struck by was how for how long the experience stuck with me physiologically, how I felt different. I mean, it was clear that I got a charge of neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, whatever, and just felt like a broad smile on my face as I was driving home. I played music I hadn't heard for so long, was inclined to listen to it, not change tracks, not be monkey mind, but just really like
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in my body, in the moment,
More
just
present.
settled. Yeah, way more
Yeah.
present. That's one of the things that I find after I've floated. Before I floated, or if I haven't floated for a long time, I'm somewhat baseline agitated and will like flip to the next track, can't listen to a whole song, right? Or whatever, because on the dopamine schedule, like, and so I'm like, yeah, next track, next track, next track, let's keep it moving, shuffle. But then after a float, I find either I'm totally game for no music, which is very unusual when I'm driving. I'm talking about, or if I play a song, I'll listen to it, even if it's not like one of my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I'll listen to the whole thing. So that's just an indication, right, of the type of change that occurs after you float. It settles you
Hmm.
and it gets you calmer, and your mind doesn't jump around as much, and you know. So that's what I took from it. And I already went into it with an idea that this just a intuition that this was going to be a big deal.
There was like a pull.
Hoped it would. It, absolutely, a total
Yeah.
pull. This was going to be a big deal. So the idea of the business kind of was roughly floating in that in the ether
Yeah.
before loosely was like, if this is a big deal and this isn't available anywhere, like that's something. Like there's something here, and it was, and it turned, and it really, I was open to the idea that it wouldn't be. I wasn't deluding myself or like drinking Kool-Aid before I'd had the experience or after, but it delivered. I'll be damned, it delivered. It really is it's an amazing thing.
You
And so from
can't
there,
drink
it
the
was like,
Kool-Aid because it's just salt water. It's the
it's just
most
salt.
disgusting.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. You can't drink it. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's too salty. And so it was hitting the ground running from that point. It's like did it once, confirmed it, did it a week later, different place, uh, amazing again.
Mm.
And from that point, I was like, all right, I only need two data points. Like it's good. It wasn't just once. Like it was
Yeah.
good the second time. And from
Can you speak
there,
more
yeah.
to, sorry to cut you off, but I'm really
No, no.
curious about you were talking about like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
If I was like following you correctly, it seems like you had one of those kind of prior to floating to have like a reference point. But like,
Yeah.
was that part of those early floats? Did it kind of mirror that in some ways, or it gave you like a different type of rite of passage, or?
It did. I mean, I won't pretend that it was as like in a single hour of floating that it was comparable in terms of just raw power of let's say the psychedelic experience, but it really gets at that. It's some of the things that are delivered by that.
Mm,
The experience of the ego quieting down, of seeing things from very different perspectives,
mm,
which speaks to it perhaps opening up a creative window into
yep,
people. Who I'm not myself per se. Like I wouldn't describe myself as my like as creativity being one of my strongest traits. I can tap into a creative space at times, but I'm not. I don't wake up in a creative space. But when floating, there's a balance between the hemispheres. Let's say the right side of the brain starts to kind of like wake up a little bit if you're left dominant, like more analytical or like I tend to be. But then that side can quiet down, right side starts to wake up. There's some balance.
mm,
And so you start to see things from like different perspectives, which is also consistent with, the type of experience that you can have by other
mm-hmm,
means. And that is awakening. You start to see new aspects of yourself that you may never have known were there. You
yeah,
start to look at the world differently. You start to perhaps feel more excited about life, about more optimistic about yourself, about the future, about what's possible. Even just by getting inklings, it's just all you need is like to see there's something there. Oh shit,
little
like I
spark.
can, I can move in that direction. There's something there. There's a path in that
Yeah,
direction. So yeah, I mean, I do, I do feel like going down some of these roads, we'll call them, like, is a rite of passage. I think it's as and McKenna has said this, so I'll be paraphrasing some of what he said, Terrence McKenna,
yep,
as fundamental as, you know, having children, or as fundamental as, having a relationship of any kind with another human being. It's really at a very deep level,
mm.
a base level. And
Do
so
you do you
it's
feel
not
like
just
that's
yeah,
kind of going back to the relation? Like, we've been talking. When I say we, it's sort of like me and others in this industry. I feel like even us, it's like more of a return to self, like coming home to self. Like, is that
yeah.
kind of the way to frame it?
Oh
Is
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's a great way to frame it. Absolutely. I think that a return to the self, to the authentic self, to this base layer, whatever that is, but detached, separated somewhat from the narrative of oneself, like the ego, but just like
Like
a
construct
feeling of
itself.
the deeper you, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that there's a through line to childhood, which it for can conjure, perhaps some challenging thoughts for some, but there are aspects of child being a child that are consistent with the type of experience, the type of space that you get to in the float environment where you're not future focused at times. You're not necessarily dwelling on past. You're not, you're in the moment, and
Mm,
you're not so reflecting on yourself, right? Let's say you're freer, and that's childlike. And so coming out of the float, like I was relating in the story of my first float, yeah, it was a feeling of being very childlike. That was what really
mm,
connected me. It was like, okay, this moment in
beautiful.
time, when's the last time I felt this way? It's like, well, strong memories of being a child feeling like this way. This was the hallmark. It was
Yeah.
like in the moment, excited about the details, like the little things, like
Dad,
um
why are you changing the song? I want to listen to the whole one.
yeah,
It's like,
stop. Yeah.
yeah, I
So
like that.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
I was gonna bring this back to what we were talking about before the call because it was very powerful, or before we hit record. You were talking about like kind of the tight grip that I feel like
mhm.
this is very, very common. The tight grip of the things that I'm stressed about, the to-do list, the things that I should do, quote unquote. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious to hear more of your perspective. I think both for yourself, like with your practice over the years, um,
Mhm.
maybe in the tank, in that session, but also maybe like over time. And then also, what that looks like, what you see in your customers and like clients who, maybe struggle with
Yeah.
that. Because, yeah, I mean, we get so tied up to even the idea of who we are or the identity that's constructed, the ego, like you were talking about.
Mhm.
And yeah, it can be very powerful to finally let that go and let something, your true
Oh
self
yeah.
emerge. But it's a muscle, it's like an awareness, right? Like that was very,
Mhm.
very hard for me, and it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
So how has that looked like for you?
Well, very much struggle with this. I know I'm not alone. The grip, as I put it, for me in this last float, where I, was reminded of how rusty I am, and went for the first 30 minutes, just as a, in a more comfortable environment, just simply continuing the mind space that
Mm,
I'd been in for quite a long time now, which was just like, bouncing different business ideas, thinking of the next thing got to do, like, really, in that headspace. And then at one point, I just realized, I'm like, this is like halfway through the float. Uh, you have permission in this place, if nowhere else,
mm,
just with this time in this space, to literally just let that go. And it's not going to die or disappear, or you're not going to fail or lose track, or whatever the fear might be that's
mm,
associated with, like, letting go, loosening your grip on these things.
yep.
Because I think, as we talked about, I think there is a baseline anxiety that comes up around the idea of letting go of the things that we grip tightly, which is an opportunity to safely let it go, and
Mm,
just let it go, and trust that when I get out, if I really desperately want to, I can pick it right back up. It's not going anywhere. I can get back to being stressed and driven and concerned and responsible and all these other things. It's not going anywhere. I can, if I choose to, I can pick it right back up. It's not going to disappear, or I'm not going to screw up or drop the ball, because I'm letting go here. And I
mm,
think that that's a struggle for a lot of people. And again, it's not just about responsibilities, in your business or your job or whatever. It can also be your grip on your pain, your grip
Yeah.
on your past, your grip on your struggles of any kind or stresses of any kind. It's a grip on anything
Yep.
that would hold you back from just being
Yep.
and not playing, not perpetuating either a narrative of what you think must be or you must control. Um, I think that, yeah, just letting go of whatever it is that you hold on to. And I think it can be a little bit difficult, I think, to know what it is that you do hold on to. For some, I mean, I think it's like it might be surprising to realize, to awaken to the idea that like you really hold on to the past. You're really
Yeah.
holding on to the friction in your relationship, let's say, or whatever else it might be. And so those things that would spin in your mind a lot when you're just lying there comfortably in silent darkness, that indicates that there might be, you have a tight grip on this thing that, you struggle to just put down
Yep.
and let go. But flexing that muscle, getting some experience with how to do that and giving yourself that permission to do it is invaluable,
Yeah.
because then you can take that same experience that is made easier in the float pod, and you can kind of start to learn to do that a little bit outside of the float environment. You're like, all right, for 5 minutes, I'm going to disappear those concerns. It's okay. They'll reemerge and I
Yep.
can do with them what I want at that point. But to be able to be more in control of that and to pick it up and put it down more at will, that's a big deal. It's a
It's
very big
massive.
deal.
Yeah.
It's huge. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first float was, I've talked about it many times, but I almost drowned as a teen, and there was a lot of trauma around that. But there was probably resentment, there was anger. It was a freak accident, but the way some people handled it really affected me.
Mm,
And that was one of the things I was like tight gripped, like I can't believe this is how
yeah.
it went, and blah blah blah. And yeah, the float tank, it's just so beautiful because it's so, as you said, it's, you feel so safe and there's nothing else to grab onto or distract you, where you can just see it. So it's, I've never thought of it like this. It's almost like a TV in the way of like, it's like very focused, but like on the things that you should probably actually like see. And they
Yeah.
might be a little
Right.
confronting, but yeah, you feel safe, you're relaxed, where you can just see it and process and then let it go. And for me, that was like, even forgiving myself, just like beating myself up and all this stuff. And it was just like, once you do that, like boom, 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 and okay, it's now we're
Yeah.
done. Like, what
Right.
was I,
It's like, oh,
how many years was that? Yeah. Of
oh,
just,
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
we were joking, on another call of ours of like I forget how we put it, but just like white knuckling your float, where
Oh, yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
get some,
Just,
you'll get
just
benefits, but,
make it to the end. Make it to the end. I did it.
yeah.
Yeah. Float so hard. Just get it. Do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And it's amazing what letting go can unlock, because there's a lot of bandwidth that's consumed. If you're
Once that
holding on
space
to
is open.
anything
Yeah.
really tightly, you can't hold anything else. You're already holding something, but for one. And two, that's tiring. I mean, it's consuming bandwidth one way or another to really hold on to things. So you're not then therefore open to new ideas, to new, you know, evolutions, whatever. You just remain in a state of kind of stuckness.
Mm.
And, time marches on, but in a way, you remain in the same spot, stuck. And you can catch up because, you do experience life while you're stuck holding on to something. And then once you finally let it go, you can kind of like race and catch up and contextualize all the experiences you've had all the while. So it's not like a total catastrophe necessarily. If you can integrate everything that you've learned that's kind of stored in your memory, you can catch up. But uh, yeah, it's a big deal. It can lead to huge unlocks, and I
Mm.
think really reconnecting with what that is. And as I've kind of grown up more and matured, and have more life experience now, I think uh, I've put into context more and more just like how big a deal this is, and for how many people, like for everyone. Like this
Yeah.
is not just for people who like are inclined to like floating. No. And if you don't have a good float, good. That is exhibit A. It is exhibit A for
Yeah.
why you need to do this. If you cannot lie down in a float pod in the most comfortable environment possible, I mean, the one exception is if you are clinically claustrophobic. If not for that, if you cannot lie down in this environment and enjoy yourself and feel like this is time well spent, this is worth it, then that is exhibit A. Good. Now you see how clearly you
Mm.
need this. I mean, really. And so
I
I
even
think
want to
we
challenge the claustrophobia. Is just keep the lid open and you
keep the
baby
lid
step it.
open. Absolutely. Keep the
Yeah.
lid open. You know, if you have a genuine fear of the dark and you don't want the confrontation therapy, keep the light on.
Yeah.
You're in control of the whole experience, basically. And so if you can't figure how to have a good experience there, first of all, it's totally relatable. This is not like there's something wrong with you. No, it's amazing that you've uncovered this fact, this cold
Mm.
fact that like you struggle with this. And so to abandon that, to see that, to get that case evidence right there in front of you, and to be like, I don't want more of that, is an enormous mistake. I mean, to have a quote bad or uncomfortable or challenging first float, or one that doesn't deliver, you know, the pearly gates of heaven, is just this huge error.
Yeah.
And again, like, stick with it. Don't quit before the miracle. And then
Yeah.
once you've experienced the miracle, you're gonna keep floating, and
You're
congratulations.
in.
You're
Yeah.
in. But like, yeah, don't stop.
Yeah. I hope she uh, is okay with me sharing this. I'll cut it if not. But my fiance Em, she was very scared of the dark, and when we first met, and she drank the salty water, a Kool-Aid, obviously because of my work, and she loves floating now. And I'll have to double check with her. I can't remember if she turns lights off anymore. Um, but she wears an eye mask at night, which is like unheard of for
Yeah,
when we
right.
first met.
Since
Um,
having floated, she's now comfortable with the diamonds.
yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing.
So it's yeah. I mean,
That's great.
I've meditated on this more and more of like how many fears it can kind of poke on, which I think is why it's so
Mhm.
potent, right? It's silent, you're alone. There's no light if you have lights off. There's all these things. You're enclosed, but as you said, it feels very expansive when you're actually in it. Um, oh, I got you back.
Back,
Okay.
Starlink.
Um,
Sorry,
yeah, it's no, it's all good.
sorry, Laura.
It's as you said, I think it's signal to feel that apprehension, like feel the fear. I think of like, all the things you're looking for are on the other side of your fear, and the float tank kind of like represents so much of that for people, which I think is like why it's really hard to pull people in. But once you get them in, and as you said, once they have that kind of rite of passage, as you put it, it's unbelievable to see the stories and like the transformations that people have.
Oh yeah,
Um, like what have you
yeah.
seen? 9 years, like that's a lot of floats.
Oh, a lot of floats. Yes, 70,000 plus, 70,000 plus floats. Um, yeah, we see people once they get over the proverbial hump and really explore making it a practice by doing it, say, biweekly or more. We have a lot of people who float weekly. They get to a place where they feel, not in a bad way, that they cannot live without it. That
Mm,
it is their touch point for their stress relief, their mindfulness, gives them the pain relief, the other things don't give or that come with a lot of side effects where floating does not.
right.
Um, it helps to enable deeper sleep or an easier time getting to sleep. Um, it does an awful lot, and if you do it. Um, but like we were talking about, as it relates to, let's say, the experience of going on a vacation, if you go from a place where you have stress, or let's say, whatever, and you take that to a place that's, where you're changing the context of everything, right? It's different weather, different scenery, different culture, even different everything. It still takes, for me, and I know a lot of other people are the same way. It still takes like, a couple of days before you really start to settle in and feel it in all the cells of your body. It takes some time, and that's with, a very big dose. It still takes days, and so I don't bring that up as a relevant example of how you can't judge. If you were to judge the vacation's value on the first day,
Yeah.
you might fly home and try to save some money. You might like, not, whatever. And similarly, sometimes it takes, usually, almost always, it takes several floats before you really start to feel it in the cells of your body. Um, on a fundamental level, that happens, and that's expected. Just like you go into that vacation, you should expect, that it's going to take a couple of days before you're able to really get out of the mental schedule of like looking for the notifications or like right needing to respond to every email that comes in or whatever,
Mm.
that we're all kind of dealing with. Takes a few days, and
Bit of
floating
culture shock.
takes a bit. Yeah, but the stories, back to what you were asking. I mean, the stories have been remarkable. I mean, we've had a lot of people who have found greater relief from floating than anything else they've tried, and they've been in a desperate place and tried a lot of things.
Mm.
And floating is delivered in ways that other things have not. And those are true devotees. They're the ones that float weekly or more, and the value to them is like inestimable. It's like they
Yeah.
just keep doing it, and they just keep benefiting, and they love it, and we know them very well. They're practically family, and it's just amazing to see what is possible. Um,
It's a lot of chronic
and
pain.
there's a lot of chronic pain. Yeah, chronic pain is a big one.
Yeah.
People who have chronic pain, particularly that are, I mean, all pain is a nervous system, firing, but I mean, the systemic nervous system conditions, things like lupus,
Mm.
fibromyalgia, those are particularly stubborn, and floating gets at that because it's it calms and rebalances the nervous system. Um, so I don't know enough about the mechanisms for why it is precisely that floating does deliver on that for those particular individuals, but I can tell you that it does.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, and to speak of the nervous system a little bit for floating, for sure, most of us are walking around very sympathetic dominant. The sympathetic side of the nervous system is the fight or flight. It's what keeps you like really engaged. You're like context switching a lot,
Why
or
is
that
that?
context switching is probably what leads us to being sympathetic dominant. But like,
Yeah.
and then the relaxation side of things is like comparatively dormant. It's not very active, and we don't have good tone in that side of our nervous system, so it can't turn on when we want it to very easily, which is why floating can be a little tough at first. But like it starts to rebalance the system, and it gets you to where you can relax easier. So and you're not so that side, the sympathetic side of your nervous system is not so overactive and kind of on fire.
Mm. I'm really curious because I was thinking about this earlier in the conversation, like the state of the world. I mean, you were open pre-COVID. As
Yeah.
for one thing, the world has changed a lot in 9 years. But yeah, like my sense is, big picture, the world is changing faster and faster in so many ways. Um, where I think it's like kind of what you were saying before, one of the most important muscles for people to learn is to let go, because like you're going to be forced
Mhm.
to otherwise, right? Is like jobs,
Oh yeah.
are going to be evolving much faster than they ever have, among so many other things, right? And
Yeah.
I think of kind of the noise associated with all of that stuff. So yeah, it's not surprising that everyone is stuck in fight or flight alarm, right? Like we're just
Oh yeah.
constantly inundated with emergencies or true, conflicts or
Hmm.
whatever. Um, yeah, well, I'm curious to your perspective. Have you seen a shift in the people coming through, or maybe even like people's resistance to it? Like, is it increasing, more and more because
I think there is. It's a great question because the world is not the same
yeah.
um, in 2026 as it was in 2017. COVID, right in the middle. I do think that there is greater, say, cumulative fatigue. I think
Mm,
there's greater cynicism. I think there's greater tribalism. I think I think there's a generation of people who have grown up in a tech heavy environment that are now closer to our typical age demographic. And I think that they're somewhat more resistant to perhaps exploring this or
mm,
being open to it. I think there's some of that, ironically. But yeah, so I think there is a shift, but I don't think it is so. I don't, from our experience, I don't think it is so dramatic that it would require, let's say, an entirely different business model or a different
mm,
approach to framing the conversation. Um, you know, but for sure, like there is a directional shift, but it's not like a tectonic shift.
mm. Do you like what would you say to those people you're mentioning? They're maybe more like tech driven, or they've been like more immersed in it for more of their lives.
Yeah.
They struggle to
Hmm.
yeah, be willing to, is it fair to say, like, have that rite of passage, or like touch on it, explore that area, or
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think there's a greater, yeah, I don't know how I would describe it, but like, mm, and then it's not indoctrination, that isn't the word, but almost a greater hypnosis, but they're
mm,
under the spell of things at a slightly deeper level. Where,
mm,
let's say take someone in their 60s who's like, relatively YouTube addicted. Many of them are. It's so compelling, right? They're like finding the algorithms, finding what they're interested in, and that's what they're watching, and they're into it. Yeah, I'm just thinking of like my dad. Um, but I think that for someone younger, someone closer to 30, I think that this is far more pervasive. This is everything. This is their social world. This is their professional life. This
mm,
is every communication tool that they have or use is all gated through these technologies. And I think that one of the things that isn't mm, not enough time is spent on by most people who use these tools, because we all do, because it's a freaking superpower, is trying to understand the nature of like the adversary. And not to say that these tools are adversarial, they're not, but I mean, there is an adversarial element. I mean, these things are designed by the smartest people in the world working as a team on a very focused goal of stealing every second of your attention that they can possibly grasp. Like, think about that for a second. So they're
and that's
so
pretty much,
they
that's not like a conspiracy. That's pretty much like stated in a
That
lot of
is a
places.
stated objective. That is a mandate. These are
Yeah.
publicly traded companies. That's their mandate. So the profit motive would drive them to robbing you of every second of attention that they can possibly get, so that they can earn their advertising dollars or whatever else. And really meditating on that for a second and realizing what you're up against.
Mm,
This is not trivial. It's not like, oh, I choose to. I mean, be honest. How much of a conscious choice do you really delude yourself that you're making to be grabbing for social media?
mm,
Or, oh, I'm just going to, oh, I'm being productive. I'm watching YouTube videos about, a new AI tool or whatever, right? I mean, which I do.
yep.
And, I kind of tell myself, like, oh, well, this is productive. And sometimes it happens to be, I'll learn something and like, oh, that's a big deal, and I'll use it. But then for every hour I spend where I'm lucky enough to stumble on something like that, you know, I'm spending a lot of time scrolling, which is bad for the brain. very
Yep.
bad for the brain. And, it's bad for the soul too. I mean, man, like get your hands in the dirt gardening. And I'm talking to myself, by the way. I'm not in any way preaching. I mean, I don't do these things. These are like intentions. But it's a good example of like the kind of thing that's been put on the back burner because so much of my own personal time and attention has been wasted
Mm.
by this, you know, crap. When it's not useful, it's crap.
Hmm.
And I think being really honest about like when is it actually useful and really moving the needle towards a goal. Where is it moving the needle in a way that is aligned with what you really want in your heart personally? And if it isn't doing that, then it is crap at that moment, at least. It's like
Yeah.
you got to don't touch it, get away from it. Is this aligned or not? No, dude, stay away because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And so I think that people who are younger, and I mean, people who are older are just, they're less entrenched in that world. People who are younger are deeply entrenched,
Yeah.
and I think aren't particularly conscious or aware of what the perils and what the perils are of this. But it's a big deal, and it's something I'm struggling with personally. I mean, it's like this stuff is so compelling. It's so
And it
compelling,
just
and
gets more and more.
it's not going to
Again, it's
slow
ramping
down.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's not slowing down. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we could harp on about like forecasting where this goes, but I mean, I do think we all need to do a gut check and really get right with uh, authentic experiences, connection with human beings, connections with ourselves, and understanding how to do that, and
Mm.
that's good. There's something good there,
Yeah.
that tapping into finding a place where you actually enjoy your own company and feel good and comfortable in your own body. I think
Yes.
if we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have these things, and we're going to get pulled further into this direction that we've been talking about, that's bad. That's really bad. We're going to get further disembodied. We're going to get more and more disconnected from one another. I mean, you know, uh, AI is coming, it's here, obviously, and it's not long before the experience of engaging with an AI digital avatar in a virtually represented space is going to be very, very, very compelling. And that is dangerous and scary. And,
Yeah.
there'll be usefulness, obviously, to say the least, but that's spooky. What
Yeah.
happens? I mean, people were already pretty disconnected from one another. Where does it go from here if we don't get control of this and really connect with ourselves and you know wake up the kind of the inner child that's in all of us? And I don't mean that in a way that's it's not a what you'd say a trope or something like that. It's like, oh, there's an inner child in us waiting to come out. No, no, really though, like we're all just kids in bigger bodies
It's a deep
with
truth. Yeah.
just more stuff that we're trying to manage, but it's like we're all just kids, and we need to be feeling like kids. We need to be doing kid like shit,
Yeah.
not you know not destructive things, but like we should be experiencing our lives in the world in that way, through those eyes. And that's in all of us, and I think losing touch with that is extremely sad, and is bad. And I think anything that any one of us can do to reconnect ourselves with that and to help others, bring others into that purpose and journey, I think is positive.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and I do feel strongly that floating and what we're doing is aligned with that.
100%. I mean, I've been talking about this a lot lately. I heard this very powerful story, like 6-year-old veteran, PTSD, chronic pain, high anxiety, all these things. It's been floating for 5 years, I think, quite some time. He said, "I feel 18 again," and like that's
Yeah,
much closer to a
exactly.
child than than 60.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very important. I was also thinking, we've talked a little bit about this, the idea of sort of the intention behind stuff. It's like
Mhm.
you're talking about reaching out to your phone to watch this video and stuff. Like if it comes from a sort of a clear intention that's actually, growth oriented, and that's on your path, all
Hmm.
these things, like that could be good. But I think that disconnection from self, it's how do you understand that? How do you even like clarify what the intention is if you're so disconnected, right? um
Yeah,
I think that
most
that
definitely.
is, kind of having that inner compass. As you said, it's like invaluable, more and more as all this
Yeah.
stuff is happening, right? Like, how do we navigate this thing that's never happened before, that's happening very fast? I think it's, yeah, pretty critical to be able to have sort of that grounding. Like for me, that's what's really happened over so many floats, is like I feel more grounded, more embodied, as you were
Hmm.
saying,
Yeah.
but more able to kind of navigate, more at the, like the subtle level versus like
Hmm.
whatever the AI pitch that's very shiny and it sounds great and it looks very compelling and it's tailored to me or whatever, but I'm like, I can sense this is off, right? It's like more
Yeah.
of that.
Hmm.
I feel like I've developed through, yeah, shutting everything out in the tank and being like,
Yeah.
just what is actually going on, uh,
Yeah.
here, yeah, everything in my week or my month, my year, whatever it is.
Hmm.
How do you feel about that? Do you have a similar
I mean,
experience?
oh, absolutely. And one of the things that, yeah, the intention setting, first of all, I think is just is so important, and I think it's a great place to really literally start. Is just living with greater intention, just starting to
Hmm.
cultivate just a little more intentionality with what we're doing before we do things, so that we're not just reacting, or we're not just habituated to do this, to reach for the phone, to just right, or whatever else. Like to really set an intention, which can lead to maybe an establishment of some boundaries or some discipline. And it's like, if you're setting an intention for why you're doing what you're doing, you're less inclined, or less prone to just veering off course, or getting just overly
Mm.
distracted or pulled in a different direction. But um yeah, one of the things that just came up while you were speaking, I was just reminded that one of the fears uh that gets called, or subsides, from floating, is a fear of death, which, like, we all from time to time will grapple with, right? If
That's the
not
big one.
like all of us always.
Yeah.
But like the experience that you can have, even if it's just relatively brief, is this like feeling like, oh, nothingness is okay, is actually,
Yeah.
this is good, like coming, like you kind of tap into this void, if you will, which, like, seen from or thought of from a different context, sounds like horrifying. It sounds like, Jesus, I don't want that. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. And then you experience it, and you emerge from it, and go back and experience, and come out and go back, and you're like, oh, I it's all good. It's
Yeah.
all good. And that's the eternal truth. And so just to connect with that is powerful. There's something there that kind of like gives you a little comfort when, you might have anxieties that arise about your own mortality.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's a pretty big deal as well, actually.
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
I,
you
this
can't
is, I
make this
appreciate you
up.
bringing that up. No, I really appreciate you mentioning that, because like this, I feel like is the deeper conversation that's been like, I feel like it's like whispered and tiptoed around floating, because that can come off as like very scary. But 1,000%, like I think about, there's other experiences I've had, I think, that have forced me to really work through that and shed like layers and layers and layers of fears and just energy around that. But I, of course, through my floats, and as you were saying, like tapping into the void, but I can see just like very clearly, like obviously that's at the root of so much for people, right? Is like all these things kind of up here, all the chaos and the noise. If you really kind
Mhm.
of pull it down, it kind of it's rooted in that. And
Yeah.
it's not easy work for sure, but the stability and the calm that you have from having that knowing of like, oh, it's actually, yeah,
Hmm.
like it's, I can, as you were saying before, it's like I can let go and I can kind of just rest in that, I think, a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the challenge, but it's also the practice of like there's so much that comes from that space that you there's no guarantees of what it is, and like there's no way to know how it's gonna like play out for you. But yeah, it's very beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
and my sense is that like floating. I'm curious your perspective with this. Um, even like it's really cool to hear like you're rooted in from like the beginning of John C. Lilly, right?
Mhm.
The OGs who brought this to life.
Yeah.
Even myself with in Montreal, Bernard. It's one of the longest standing float centers. It's in this old beautiful bank,
Wow.
and he was connected in with them. Very very cool. But it's a hard thing to sell. I'll just say it, right? It's like,
Mhm.
how do you communicate this? How do you sell it? You can't make big claims, yet there's these like absolutely priceless, beautiful transformations happening. But it really feels like the industry has, I think, struggled, not out of anyone's fault, but like struggled. Like, how do we talk about this? How do we package it? How do we
Yeah.
guide and educate people through, this very
Hmm.
deep rite of passage is of what it could
Yeah.
be.
Hmm.
Yeah. And my sense, I'm really curious your thoughts on this. My sense is like there's a big elephant in the room, and it's like we gotta kind of
Hmm.
address it and talk at these deeper levels, or maybe be willing to poke the fears a little bit more of like, yeah, this is the
I totally
void. And
agree. I totally agree. Not
yeah,
only poke
go.
the fears, but let's spell out the problem. Let's call out the problem more directly, more forcefully, because there has to be this shift from we're presenting a spa-like experience
1,000%.
that
Yep.
has benefits and it's pretty and it's comfortable and it's like no, we're not fucking around. You fucking need this. Really though. And not
Yeah.
because you're somehow defective. No, because you're a human being in 2026.
Yep.
That literally defines your need for this. Just definitionally. I mean, with few exceptions. You know, whoever the Buddha on the mountaintop is, maybe notwithstanding. But like he's floating in his own way, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else, if you are living in 2026 and are a human being, you need floating. You need what it is. And, one can make a case that there are some other ways to get at it, but like, okay, do you have that level of discipline and commitment to
Mm.
have a legit meditation practice that's up to the challenge of or up to the adversary that we were talking about, like it's up to offsetting that.
Mm.
Oh, some can get there and like dude, it's super commendable, but
You gotta be a
that's
warrior. Like,
that's not straightforward. If that were
yeah.
straightforward, then that would be a different story, but it isn't. And so it is definitely time to start shifting the conversation to one that is more direct, more forceful,
Mm.
more confident, less asking for
Yes. Yeah,
patronage
yeah,
and
yeah.
asking for a favor, like, will you come try this thing? No. Do you need to do this? It's not like optional. It's
Yeah.
not optional. We did this because it's amazing and because it's important and you need to be here. And if you're not here, you're making a mistake. And your considerations of value are warped. How
Mm.
much does your stress cost? How much does your pain cost you? That is really the first calculation that you need to make.
Yep.
Then consider the value of the solution. And when you put those two side by side, this is not a thing. Part of it is a confidence in the solution. I think what we were talking about the other day was people might have the wrong hope and expectation
Yep. Yeah.
that
Yep.
whatever it is that they're trying or hopeful about being a solution will be a silver bullet, will take 100% of their problem away. And when they find that that isn't immediately the case, They're like, this isn't what I wanted. This is not what I was hoping for. I wanted immediate and total relief. I wanted to be fixed. I wanted to be certain that this was it. And I think people will, they'll not be up for continuing on the journey because of that expectation that was failed to be met, that
Mm,
expectation that was wrong. It was too much. It was too big. So I think really shifting an expectation away from like, this is a silver bullet that's going to be magic in your first experience, and you're going to reach the, as we said, the theta state, and it's like all things will be fixed, is just totally wrong.
yeah.
No. Just like, like we were talking about earlier, you're going to get to your vacation and you're going to like, what, waste your money for 2 days? It's like, no, because you know that you have to go through that to get to the real meat of the experience, which is like where you're really letting go and are relaxed or whatever, you have relief of the symptoms of your life. But like, yeah, with floating and with what this is and with what we're talking about is in terms of how important it is, and what it delivers, I think. So sorry, my train of thought was that part of it is a lack of confidence. Part of it is an overblown expectation of the immediacy of the solution. How quickly will this happen? And they're judging everything on that first float. A lot of people are like,
Or the spa
did
relaxation,
yeah,
like only
or
that filter. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like this is a spa experience. So now I'm going to compare this float against a 1 hour massage. And,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. I enjoy physical touch. And it's like, yeah, this isn't that. It's not that. It's not. It is relaxing and it does feel good. And we create a relaxing ambiance, but like they're totally different things. No one speaks about massage, or should probably. It does different things. Amazing. I love it. But like totally different things. Floating is an entirely different animal, totally different path,
Mm.
solving different issues. So, I
Do
mean, we have to get away from talking about floating as though it's a spa experience.
I,
Um,
I really appreciate you saying that because I 1,000% agree. Do you,
yeah,
to pull it back to the start of our conversation, do you feel like a better framing is it's like almost like a tool for consciousness work, or like there's probably ways that you can massage that, but like, um, yeah, what do you feel like is a better framing for it?
I think, well, it is absolutely a consciousness tool. I don't think that for a broad market, that's the right way to frame it. I think that would be
Yeah.
very attractive to a certain segment. I think that more, if you're going to really try to reach with a broad stroke, I think that nervous system rebalancing, I think, is pretty relatable. I think,
Yep.
when you start to really define like what is the experience of being sympathetic dominant, of that side of your nervous system being overactive and overfiring, here's how you feel. Do you relate to that? Yeah, like everyone else. It's like totally agitated, really concerned, like, let's say soothing with food, other habits that aren't aligned with what my goals might be for myself. And it's like you're just not settled. Like there, that's it. That's what that is. That's the way that you're waking up, the way you're going to bed, the way you're living your life, the things you're doing or not doing. Like that is hallmark of this. This baseline noise of fight or flight that's always with you. And it's not just the tech and the evolving world, it's the modernization of the world writ large. It's the cars that whiz by you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our brains are, our nervous systems were biologically not so dissimilar from like the human beings from 5,000 years ago, right? So we're not accustomed to the bombardment that we have today, forgetting about like the digitization of the world, but like car horns. If you live in an urban area, you're having to ignore a lot of very alarming signals, and you get used to it. It's normalized, but like your nervous system is not enjoying that, and that's
My last apartment
taking
was
it's
the
horrible, right?
constant like fights outside, like fire trucks. And
Yeah,
yeah, at a certain point, I was just like, I'm out. Like, I can't do it.
I lived on a four-way stop. My wife and I had this small home it was a lovely neighborhood, but we were right on this four-way stop, and I don't know how many times a day, every day, there would be like a motorcycle that would just like full throttle off the stop sign, or like and we got used to it, but my nervous system did not. Like it absolutely agitated my nervous system in a bad way. And, your brain always has to go like, threat? No, no, you're good. No, you're good.
Mm.
Threat? Is a threat? No, 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 you're good. You're good. And do that like 1,000 times a day. And then, this is so when messages come in too. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I always have some concern that like the message that I'm about to get is going to be like bad news, and it's going to really hijack everything that I'm doing right now that I want. And like, oh no, okay, okay, okay. That is going on all the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So I think the emphasis on the nervous system is one that is relatable. It's easy to communicate. I think that it is. It's easy to substantiate
Right.
science, with evidence. I think that's important. And I mean, shit, we have biometrics at this point. I mean, many of us are wearing an Oura ring. I mean, floating in HRV. Don't
Yep.
take our word for it. Just float and watch your average HRV increase, and then tell us that it's not working. That's literally your biological marker for among other things, the balance of your nervous system or your sympathetic tone.
Hmm.
It's different for each person, the kind of baseline, but like your trend against yourself is going to indicate whether your nervous system is kind of like sympathetically overactive or not. And so you can track that. So I think that's a strong place to start. And
Mm.
also I think, so we were talking about like, don't ask for the favor of the person's patronage, and also
Huge.
speaking from a
There's
greater place of confidence.
yeah.
It's like, if you could present someone, I mean, if you could imagine this hypothetical scenario, if you could present to someone a contract, and in the contract, it guarantees relief of their symptom by some amount, not 100%, that's absurd, but, but that sometimes happens, by the way. But let's say, call it 40%, 35%, 35%, large chunk of their chronic pain or of their chronic stress. And you could say, if you merely sign on this dotted line, your responsibility in this contract is that you show up and you have 10 floats in 3 months or in whatever, 2 months, some concentrated amount.
I'm going
And
for
at the
10
end of
days.
that, I'm
That's
10
where
days.
I'm trying to pull people to.
Amazing. Yes. Right. You go for it
Yeah.
headlong. And at the end of that period, that I'll deliver you contractually a 35% reduction of your primary pain point, if assuming that this is a fit. Who wouldn't sign on that dotted line for the price that you're asking if it was certain?
Yep.
I mean, literally everyone would. Everyone would. They'd find the money. They'd
Yep.
borrow the money. They would do whatever because
The pain is so
it's
bad. It's
so
what you were talking about before. The cost is
it's like
unbelievable. Yeah. And
absolutely. And
yeah.
so it's like, forget whether you like it or not. Like, I mean, you'll really fall in love with it.
Yeah.
You will fall in love with it. But even if in the first experience you're like, I don't know if it's exactly my thing, who cares? At the end of
What
this
is the
rainbow,
outcome? Yeah.
who
Yeah.
cares? It happens to be a comfortable place, and you'll start to become familiar with it, and that'll change. Like, if you're not immediately like connected and like feeling like this is home, fine. But like, who cares?
Yep.
It's like saying the medicine that I'm prescribed to take that I literally need, quite enjoy the taste of it.
Is it
So I don't
Buckley's
think
that's
I'm
horrible
gonna
taste? Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna take it. It's
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
don't think that's how you should be thinking about it. I think you should take it because you
Yeah.
need it. And it's a shame that it doesn't taste amazing. But like, well, floating happens too. It's just, you might need to taste it 2 or 3 times, right? There's some things like that are acquired tastes. It can
Mm.
and it's just, this one isn't such a reach. This one is nice. It's nice immediately for most people, a lot of people, but a couple experiences, you start to really get familiar with it and you demystify it. And then if you do it enough, you get the results. I mean, I'm really starting to imagine a world with, as we were talking about, there's effectively a money back guarantee for some, right? Not for 100% symptom relief. I think so. If we get
Yeah.
better at level setting what a reasonable expectation is and have that conversation with a customer, say, well, what would the value of reducing your symptom by a literal 30%, what would that be? What would you pay this amount for it if you could do that? Most people who really are connected with what the symptom is, and that the solution, if they could make that change, it would really improve their lives. I think would
Yep.
absolutely do it. And then,
And that service, I wanna, sorry to jump in, but I really, this is like so important because this is like the one of the core problems of this industry. That is service.
Mhm.
That is not taking advantage of someone. That is not like
No,
being
right.
business shark. That is like absolute service in a way that
Yeah,
also gets you value for this priceless service that you're doing for the world of building this space and
100%.
holding this space so that you can actually keep it open because there's this unbelievable lie pervasive in this whole industry that that is somehow a bad or a negative thing and it's killing a lot of these spaces,
Hmm.
and it's so
Yeah.
tragic because like I've looked at the big picture and I've kind of done a meta analysis, and these are very common stories. But chronic pain, I didn't even know it was possible to be pain free again. Like as you said, like that's like priceless. Like that's
Hmm. Yeah.
I haven't been in that. Well, I mean, in some ways, I've had my own version of that. But you know, I think to the level of some of these stories, my understanding of it, um, yeah, it's just like unbelievable, you know, and to think that they're in that space where they feel trapped and it's not possible. And as you said, there's so many things that they've tried. They've spent time and years and so much money. Whatever they're paying for float, they could pay full price for all their floats or double, and it's probably like 5% of what they would pay, you know,
Oh,
for that
exactly.
result, right?
They would take a second mortgage on their house. They would commit half of their income. I mean, this is not overstating the case. If someone is genuinely in chronic pain and it is hijacking their entire life and absolutely standing in the way of them enjoying things that they want to enjoy, they've had to abandon hobbies. They, fill in the blank.
Yep.
What wouldn't you pay? And what are we asking? But $100 for a membership or an experience at most. Stop. And I think the conflict is, a lot of the people that get into the float business are really well-intentioned, good-hearted
Yes.
people
Yep.
that are often they are in some domains. I'm not gonna. I don't want to like. I don't know. Speak down to anyone else or something. In some domains, more evolved and have an elevated consciousness in certain domains. And
Yep.
I think there is a conflict with the desire for money. Like put it simply, they absolutely are good-hearted and connected, perhaps not enough, and perhaps this is something we want to like reconnect with, as I've been trying to do, with
Yep.
what we're all about here and what the end result of this is for the people that we're helping. But there's also, there's money involved, and so when you're trying to sell someone, there's a feeling of yuckiness that
Yep.
can arise because you're like,
Those Zoom thumbs.
when it
It's
no
always the
shit.
best timing. Sorry, keep going.
It's true. There's a feeling of yuckiness because you want the money. You want them to buy. And so there's a conflict there. And
But I think it's because like it's
what was I going to say? There was
we
some other. I had another decent point. I don't know. It wasn't great, but it was something. And hold me one second.
no, go for it. Sorry to cut in.
No, no, it wasn't you that distracted me. It's my failing brain.
You were talking about so float center owners with
Yeah.
good hearts who it's like the feeling
Yes.
of yuckiness around the sales, and I have so much to say about
Mhm.
this, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, a feeling of yuckiness around the sale. And okay, yeah, that's what it was. Sorry. And I think the other thing that I think people need to really get down with is how fundamental the fear of rejection is. There's also
Mm,
that. So, like going for a sale, trying harder for the sale, putting more of yourself on the line, putting it out there, and not just rejection of yourself as a person or something like, oh, this implies they don't like me. But no, if they say no to the floating, that hurts. We really are
mm,
invested in this thing. This is a
wow.
big
Yeah, yeah,
deal.
yeah.
We're deeply connected with what this is. This is an enormous part of who we are. So if someone says, nah, I hear you, and you've outlined all the benefits, and you've done this, and I get it. You're totally no, I'm good though. Ouch. That sucks. That really does hurt. And I think
Mm,
we got to steel ourselves more and be more resilient and get the reps to really make ourselves more impervious to that feeling, that pain of like, oh no, like and because it really it does hurt. And I think that
yeah,
there's on a very small level, it can erode, even momentarily, erode your confidence in what you're doing. It's
a
like,
thousand percent.
maybe it's not as amazing as I think, or this person doesn't think so. It's like, that's the setback,
Yep.
and maybe it's just a moment, but that's enough to be like a little averse to wanting to revisit that feeling that maybe only lasted a couple of seconds, but like sucked. It's like a hot stove or something almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Can be like that. So I think really getting, leaning into that, being like, and my wife came up with an idea that I really liked, which was no floater left behind, because
Ooh,
it evokes this idea of like, not to really overplay a war metaphor, but like no, but like we're at war against the stress of life. We're at war against these things, and it's like no floater left behind. Fight
yep.
for them. Fight for them. Get
Yes.
over
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Get over your own fears. Get over whatever. Get over this rejection idea, or get over. Oh yeah, you're asking for money. Fine, then don't think about the money if you need it. Fight for them. Fight for them.
Service. Yeah, yeah.
If they do not, and I would also throw this in here to anyone listening who's in the business, if they do not become a member, not if they buy the next float, like that's good, but they need to be committed. There has to be an investment on their part in the journey, in the picture that you're painting about the journey of floating as a practice. If they are not becoming a member, you will lose them. They will churn in like a month. I know there are some that are going to buy a package, and there's some that are going to come
Packages
every
are
couple of
worse.
months.
Packages are
They're
worse,
worse,
Ryan.
right? It's terrible.
Yeah.
I know it's bad, and I know that's a common model. It is an enormous mistake. I'm telling everyone out there, stop selling individual floats as much as you do. Start selling memberships, focus entirely on that, optimize around that, and think of nothing else. Members.
And
If it's
active
hard to sell a
members,
member,
right? Like not even, oh, you
active
signed them
members.
up, but then they have their float and they're going to think about it. It's like, no, we need to
Yeah.
get this booked in now so you don't fall off.
Pre-book. Create an
Yeah.
incentive to pre-book. Create a reward for pre-booking, 4 floats, each session you pre-book your next float. Create a reward that encourages the behavior. Um, but like membership is everything. It's everything. These individual floats, they're a trial float. Limit it to 1, 2. If you want this, you got to be a member. And if the market conditions are such that you struggle to sell a membership at whatever price, 79, 89, whatever, or 69, whatever it is, fine, lower the price. But stop selling floats, individual floats at $100 or $80, thinking that's a win, and a membership you struggle to sell at 79, and pretend you're unwilling to drop it to whatever you need to meet the market. This is bad. What you want is like a ton of members at 49 or whatever, like
Yeah.
price that's like feels like undervalued, but a lot of those customers, because those are the ones that are the advocates. Those are the ones that are going to give testimonials. Those are the ones who are going to genuinely experience the benefits of floating. Someone who comes in once, twice, and like they've tried it, there's nothing there. In fact, that's horrible, because that's someone who did it once or twice and were like, I wasn't compelled. Are they going to really? Do you want that person talking to others about
Yeah.
floating?
Yep.
No, no. Why aren't you still doing it? Oh, well, I don't know. I didn't get as much out of it as I thought I might. Yeah, because you did it twice. You didn't do it. You didn't do it 20 times. So
Yep.
we don't want those people talking about floating. We want only members. We want them coming in a lot. We want less people even, but them floating often.
Yes.
Those are the people we
100%.
want talking about floating, not more people floating less. That's, by the way, churn. That's how you exhaust your local market. That's bad. We want less people floating more often, period. And then obviously that leading to more people floating more often. But like the trade-off is a no-brainer.
Yep.
Forget about more people floating less. Totally focus on less people floating more. Change your whole model around that. The end.
I love it.
Figure that out. That's your whole new focus.
Priority number
Besides
one.
putting out the fires
Yep.
that you're gonna got to still deal with, obviously, every other focus needs to be on that. How do you change and optimize to get that accomplished?
Yep.
Totally. That's it. And win people back. People floated once or twice and like you didn't have the right model in place at the time. Bring them back, give them a free float, sell them
Yep.
because you're selling them is even like the wrong framing. If that's off-putting to yourself, then deliver what they need, get them across the line,
Serve
do
them, give them
whatever you,
value. Yeah,
if
yeah.
you genuinely believe in this thing, do whatever you have to do to get them back. If you believe in the problem, if you believe in the solution, and you believe that you're not like ripping someone off, then go for it. Get them back. Do what you have to do. Give them a free whatever. Get them connected to it so they start to do it with regularity. Give a money back guarantee. Be responsible and like rational about how you approach that. But like, do you believe in it? How much?
Can
How
I can
many
I
people
speak to
do you?
this? Because this ties to you were talking about the rejection. It's like the micro rejection,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it really hit for me. I didn't think it makes sense, and I just never, I guess, maybe heard it that way, or like hearing it directly from you of this thing that we know is so, I don't know if precious was the first word that came to mind, but like precious
Yeah.
and transformational, so invaluable. Yeah, the micro rejection and how that kind of like weighs on your belief in that. I see this very how do I say this, very tragic downward spiral that owners and people in this industry can get into, where it's like you have enough of that, and again, we talk about the big picture, the economy, and
Hmm.
there's more pressure, there's more need for it, but there's more challenges of like, yes, people don't have as much disposable income, right? But the value's still there, and the value is growing. But it's like
Hmm.
you have those micro rejections, and your belief slowly wanes. And then especially if you fall off your own practice, so you're not directly connected to it, and it becomes like
Hmm.
a very slippery slope where yeah, you see these people and it's just like an immense amount of effort and investment, and just like such a beautiful service for the world to build a space like this. Like it's like
Hmm.
such a significant thing. It's not a small endeavor, and you see them just disconnected from that belief, from I think the
Yeah.
friction and not having enough of that win or that connection.
Yeah. I 100% agree. That is so true. The optimism, the hopefulness, the connection to the thing when you're in the ideation phase and the initial commitment to this new way of life
You're at a
phase,
thousand percent. You're like overflowing.
it's total. You're
Yeah.
just like you're on fire, and it is a challenge to then enter the operational phase and everything else that comes along with that, and maintain the steadfast commitment or connection
What do you
or
think that is?
optimism.
Like
I think
what's
because
the
yeah, well, I think it's underestimated uh, what all the
in every
challenges
way?
there will be in
Yeah.
every possible way. By orders of
Yeah.
magnitude, is it
Yeah. Yeah.
underestimated? I think that is for sure. I think that it is very perpetual too. I think it's not like you get like long breaks from like those little hits that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Like that's a daily thing practically. It could be that the facility is like haunting you. The technical issues that arise, right? The parts that don't come inside of
Mm.
3 weeks that you desperately need to keep a pod online or whatever tank, the contractor who's screwing you with that ridiculous price for the time for the thing that you could have maybe done, but like it goes on and on and on and it's endless. So I think it's hard to deal with that. And floating helps. Like,
I was just gonna say, like, this. I
dude,
think it was this morning. This came to mind of like, I truly feel that these are impossible businesses to run by yourself, and we've talked about before.
dude, yeah,
The isolation that comes from it, and that there are some like in some ways it's a very beautiful community, because there's a lot of sharing and collaboration and coming together, where in some other industries there's a lot of competition and conflict. But I really like on the sense of for me, I think floating is tapping into, it's the surrender, it's letting go to something bigger. You know, you talk about before at the start of the your story, the pull that you felt. Like I've heard that time and
Yeah.
time again. I felt the pull.
Mhm.
I was just pulled along this very weird path of this work, and I really feel like it's impossible if you're not letting go on a regular basis to try and like carry it all on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're such uniquely challenging businesses, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are trying to just like white knuckle it and maybe
Absolutely.
aren't
But
floating
it's,
as much as they need to.
yeah, and if you aren't floating enough and recharging your batteries, you will burn out.
Yep.
The end, period. You will burn out. And if you don't have a really strong uh, support network system at your business and in your life, like that is a problem. And it is
Yep.
a downward spiral, as you're describing, where like you begin burning out, you then are less enthusiastic, leading to less and less sales and conversions and the right actions that would lead to growing revenue rather than declining revenue and market churn. Like we got to reconnect, rekindle the enthusiasm, right? We have to win back not just the customer, but we have to win back ourselves that
Yeah. Yeah.
we had in the beginning. We got to win that back. And in the same way that you try to say, imagine winning back a customer. You say, clickbait, you made a mistake. You say like, no, you explain what I mean. I mean, no offense, of course, but like you only floated once or twice. And here are some testimonials. Can
Mm.
reconsider. If you still have pain, as you said you did, then come back. The next one's on me. Like, right? And do the same for yourself. Get reconnected with, and I'm trying to listen to myself and as I'm preaching, like I'm literally like, all right, good. Yes, that's what I
You had
need.
a
It's
float before
true.
this. We talked about it.
I did,
Give
exactly. I
yourself more
floated
credit.
yesterday. That's exactly right. I did float yesterday. But right, win back yourself. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I
I
am
I,
doing that.
I felt
As I'm saying that, I want to go on record and say I am not bullshitting. Like I've been doing that. That's literally what I've
yes.
been on about. I've been reconnecting with like the start of this thing, and I'm reinvesting in it. I'm like, no, float station version 2. We're reinvesting in it. Energy, time, passion, like re catching fire again because of the strong conviction and belief and experience. It's not like theoretically it's great. It is great. We have the experience, we know it. So now it's like, okay, let's just inject the original enthusiasm and passion
Mm.
for it and do it better on every level. Like, and don't be afraid to do everything differently. Perhaps not everything, but like, don't take off the table doing any particular thing differently. Like we have our first float orientations that I've like, as a result, I think of literally last night's float.
There we
I
go.
was thinking about the the script for the script, the script which has been unchanged this whole time and is okay, can be massively better. And I thought, oh my God, how the hell have I not thought of that? Like, just like for instance, starting because like there's nerves and anxiety coming into a first float. Your head is swimming with like the
Yep.
50 different things you're going to be told, and you're looking at the pod like while you're getting the staff member talking to you about what this is, how to do it, what not to forget, how to remember. Like, and I've thought about this the wrong way. How do we help calm them down, not just with our own demeanor, but like providing the 1, 2, 3 right away. So like there's just 3 simple things, and like then get to dive a little deeper into each one of those things, and then just like maybe repeat those 3 things of like they've got it, the most important things. Anyway, so just like rethinking it, and I'm like, wow, I'm actually even rethinking that. And so I'm just trying to take like a good look at everything, but it's because I've recaptured some energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then right, it's like if where you're at is not where you would hope to be or hope to go, the difference for sure cannot be made up if you don't increase your energy, because we're always in some state of equilibrium, right? Oh, we're not like necessarily just choosing to be lazy. I'm not saying that of anyone. I'm just saying like hypothetically, let's say if you're feeling like in a general state of laziness or you're just like lying around, Well, it's literally probably because you just don't have a whole lot of extra energy. If you did have at that moment, you'd be running around and doing other things. And some days, that's the way. So like be focused on like how to increase the energy that you need to then meet to make up the difference. It's like, okay, like
Yep.
so that you can be inclined to like take those actions that are aligned to get you moving in that way. So I think, as I said, you know, about memberships and whatnot, that put over here. The other thing I think personally is like focus on energy first, not strategy, other than like how to get more energy, which is very straightforward, right? It's like go to bed consistently, stop watching Netflix from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., stop eating crap, start hydrating, doing healthy things, and waking up at a good hour. Uh, Being active, going for walks, not nervous system exhausting workouts to get a bunch of like bulk. So that's fine. But like do gentle things to start to slowly get more energy, not get into an exhaustion cycle, but to get like fit real fast and see the energy start to creep up. And then it'll be easier to make good decisions and you'll start to be focused on the right things. And if your intention and goals are aligned and are directionally correct, like good things will start happening immediately. And the feedback, and more faster than you might expect because of feedback loops. As like you start to have a little more energy, feels great, make better choices, better action, feedback good, get a boost, like make another great decision, and all of a sudden you're in a feedback loop where like 10 great things happened this week
Yeah.
or this day, and like that's going to beget more great action, and then just try to figure out how not to fall off. And that's probably just connection with people. My tendency is toward isolation. So like when I fall off and my whole life falls apart, which it does from time to time, it's because I isolate, because I don't stay connected either to our customers, to our staff, to my friends. I isolate. And then my energy drops. I start to do, not live well, and it leads to bad decisions or continuation of bad habits. So now I'm rambling, but like optimizing for energy will lead to you getting the gumption or the whatever, kindling the passion to move in the directions you want to go. Until then, it's not because you have the wrong strategy. It's not because the market. It's not because the
Yep.
floating's not amazing. No, that's not it.
You
That's
just
not it.
gotta get in the tank and remember what it is.
Start
And
floating. Yeah,
and that's
float.
like
Cool.
I don't have time, and there, that's like the other pervasive lie is like I don't have time, and it's like if you're saying that with your customers, but like there, it's the most we call it the reset button because it's like so potent. You get in there and it's like you're a totally different. It's a huge shift from just an hour, even, right?
Huge, huge.
So,
Absolutely.
oh, I lost you.
There we go.
You're back. um,
I'm
yeah, so
back.
I know we've gone a bit over. I appreciate your time. This was a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate everything you shared. Um, yeah, like I want to kind of tap into some of that energy we were, as you were saying, the energy that I was feeling before of, I think it's like, I felt you connecting back to those early days of like, I know, part of your story of building that and,
Mhm.
how long it took, how hard it was. And you've been doing this for a while. Like why do you think floating is worth protecting? We were kind of talking about, it is a battle. I see that as like, it's just more and more of a battle where we need to like
Yeah,
fight for this and fight for people to, be able to tap into this. What
I
does that mean for
agree.
you?
Uh, well, I resonate with that completely. At this time, you know, ask me the same question 6 months ago when like I wasn't like locked in. And I wouldn't have resonated with it at the same level. Right now, 100% I feel it. I agree. Cognitively, I knew that like 6 months ago, don't get me wrong. But like in terms of really feeling it, like having it
Mm,
be like in me, that's subject to change. But right now, absolutely. I totally agree. I think it is totally important. I think protecting it with our collective efforts is it would be like akin to protecting like the land area for like a national park, like that. It would be like precious coastal land that might be inclined towards being developed. No, no, we need to protect that like this. This is important like that. This is a precious thing. This is a special place. It's a
Mm,
special thing. It's important. We need people to do it. They're better for it. I mean, yeah, in the same way. Yeah, it's a it's a reasonable analogy. I think honestly, it's like it's like anything else that's really worth protecting,
yeah.
and this is.
I'm biting
And
my tongue
yeah,
to not uh, say anything bad about nature. Like, but it's like it's to bring like people talk about like the ocean, the Dead Sea. It's like kind of again condensing that in a different way and bringing it. A lot of these places are in the middle of a busy city where you're dealing with
yeah,
the ambulances and all that stuff. Like Float House, that was the first place where I really started my practice. It was almost hilarious because it was in Gastown, and you would come out of your float, you would reintegrate, but you would come out, and literally the ambulance is coming by with the sirens going or whatever, and you're like, whoa, like back into reality. But yeah, I think
jarring.
it's you can't get that beautiful nature and the calming experience of letting it go on the beach, by the ocean. A lot of people talk about that. It's
Yeah,
very powerful, but to bring kind of a different um, version, I think, of what people can get in those precious places as well into like the core of the chaos. Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's priceless, as we've talked about. Um, yeah. Any
yeah.
final words, Ryan? How are you feeling?
I feel really good. Honestly, I genuinely feel great. I've I have had some challenge going to bed at night, and this is I'm not overstating this honestly. This is not how I always feel, obviously. But I've had trouble going to bed at night lately. Last couple weeks, not every night, but like some nights, and because I'm excited,
Mm,
because I'm genuinely excited because I've and one of the shifts I've made is um, setting a bigger goal,
yes.
setting a goal that's inspiring, not some marginal improvement or like, oh, I'm going to fix that issue that I've always, like it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed for those, or like, I don't know, or, just like fixing something or like, yeah, set a target for revenue or sales that's like that much better. It's like,
Mm,
that you know what kind of ground will shift beneath you to like accomplish like some like marginally improving set point or goal, right? It's like you're not going to really shake things up, and that itself is not inspiring. But
mm,
if you set a goal, as I have been trying to focus on and to do, that is, then you really start to and can get down with that and really manifest a vision for that actually happening and saying that there actually is a path to that. There's
mm.
a path to that. Then you can really start to move and shake things up and get like pumped, because shit, even if you only got half of the way there, like you're way beyond where you were gonna
Yeah,
get
yeah.
if you just only accomplished that small goal. And I'm not saying small goals aren't important. They're the stepping stones that'll lead you to that big target. But like
It's the moonshot.
set a big goal, set a moonshot,
Yep.
win back your customers. Like take a look at your contact list, figure out how many people floated once or twice, and figure out if you can win back 70% of those customers. Figure out a campaign to do that. Like talk to other people, like get engaged, perhaps, run the numbers. What if you can? Then how many of your problems might be solved? If instead of, three float packages, you sold memberships, and those memberships on average lasted 7, 8 months, averaged across everybody. Like, what would your money look like then? Even at like a membership price that was slightly lower than right what you might be offering now, if necessary. But then like figure out, okay, whoa, if I had that kind of money freed up, then I could not do the marketing myself or other things that might free up your own time. And then you can start to scale your time, replace yourself in every way you possibly can, so that then you're focused only on those things that are the highest impact. And I'm like in business now, but like perhaps that's direct customer outreach. You're the owner calling. That's amazing. You're not, a staff member. You're the owner calling,
Yeah.
taking their time to actually reach out to this person because they you need them back,
Yeah,
not
that
because
goes back to like that seeing that as a positive, that's like a value add and a positive, not like, oh, I'm the, I have to do this and I'm the owner because things aren't going
no,
well.
you
It's like,
get to.
no, you're
You
serving.
get to. You're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
serving, and you get to. It's one of the other things that I've really tried to remind myself of, and I try to potty train myself a lot around this. Really, the gratitude and just not have to, but get to.
Yeah.
That's a very, very important distinction, because there's a lot of shit that kind of like we have to do in the service of keeping this business running and like dealing with whatever. And it's like, you know, bro, like you get to do this. Like, think
Go
about
there, go
that.
there. Yeah, we need the wake
Dude,
up
you
call.
you get to do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Talk to myself this way at times, and I'm just like, honestly, like, wake up. You
yeah.
get to do this. This is incredible. What an opportunity this is. Oh my goodness, what a privilege. What a time we live in. What an opportunity. I mean, you think of all the other things that you might be doing, forced to do, maybe stuck doing, soul sucking stuff. And instead, you get to focus and orient yourself around this. That's amazing.
And the
That is its
impact it's
own
having on
miracle,
people's lives. Yeah, yeah,
literally. And
yeah.
then, kind of tattoo the testimonials of your very best customers
Yeah.
on your body, or at least
That's the
on
last
your
resort.
brain, at least on your brain. Like, so that when you are confronting the fear of that, like, micro rejection or whatever, you're feeling this way, that way. No, you're trying to get that person to that place. And that is a service, as you're saying. You're doing a good deed. You're not, it's like, yeah.
I think I
Would
have
you? Yeah. I mean,
I have
money is
the
necessary, but it's almost like you do it for free. If you could just have it succeed to the level that you'd want to see it, right? I feel like there's almost that.
mm,
If you could imagine it working at the level you'd really want it to in your heart, uh, you'd do it for free, and you'd figure out another way to make the money, rather than, right, like, kind of
yep.
the struggling, and the it's not taking off like wildfire. It's like, would you give up the money and have it just go and be like, fuck yeah, I knew it. Exactly. It is that good. I told you, yes. And you'd be like, I'll do it for free. And then I'll go get whatever that doesn't make that much, and live in a van down by the river, and just be like heart on fire the rest of my life.
But I feel like
So it's like,
I've been thinking about there's a lot of paradoxes with floating with the industry and stuff, and that's one of them, I think, which is I feel like people collapse into, yes, giving it away for free, discounts, devaluing, where I think you can charge well for it in a way that's accessible, but make sure that you can sustain the business and doesn't kind of
yeah.
go against how sacred, how precious this is.
Mhm.
And but I think it's like being in the energy of that, but having the right strategy, the right structure, the right pricing to make sure that that doesn't come at the cost of like sacrificing
Yeah.
your life, the business, all of these things. I I love it's gonna be stuck in my head, the visual of, I was just thinking of like those people that are like tattooed in every inch or whatever, and it's just like all the
Just customer
testimonials.
testimonials.
Yeah, the way that you can do
Just
that, this is the
That's a
I'm
strong sales pitch. It's like, you think this isn't real? You think I don't believe in this? It's like, shirt off. Just be like, I'm real. Like, you're scary. You're creepy. No,
I wouldn't recommend
no, don't do
doing
that.
that realistically, but I think the
But
way
on the
to
walls.
metaphorically, yeah, I mean, you did that.
Yeah.
Um, I think like symbolically, energetically, you can do that by just being really in your practice.
Yeah.
I think that's how it comes off, is like you guide them, you educate them, you're selling them a bit, but like the post float glow, right? That we've talked about, the vibe that you carry will be like you have all of the testimonials, and you don't have to convince them; they just kind of see it. Um, yeah, I'm really on fire. This is my challenge, my recommendation to any, not only owners, managers. If you're working in a float center, if you have not floated for 30 days straight, this is Glenn Perry's advice that I'm just carrying forward. Um, Priority number one, you will be glowing and tattooed with all the testimonials, and also just like enjoying it more, which I think, to a lot of points you made, Ryan. Um, we get to do this. It's a massive service for the world in so many ways, I think. And yeah, I think it's important not to forget that, to like always constantly remember that, and also remember that like you prioritizing that for yourself, you can continue to get the benefits, to have a better life. You don't have to sacrifice, your own practice, your own time, energy to do that service. And that actually helps everything. That's the easy button that I think we were tapping into before.
I'm gonna set a challenge. I'm gonna set a challenge to everyone out there that I'm trying to meet myself. Don't let there be a single customer at your business that floats more than you do. No one.
Mm,
No one floats more than you.
love
And
it.
so like that might be like if there's someone floating weekly, then you have to float twice a week. Like that just that you cannot allow a customer to float more than you. You have to float more than anyone. Um, that's what I don't know. That's what I'm trying to pull off for myself. And to solve that, I'm, stuffing a float pod in our house because I've just struggled to like make it happen. Showing up, taking care of facilities. I have every intention. I'm going to float. Today's going to be great. And then I get like, 5 cuts everywhere and I'm like exhausted and I've got to beat the traffic. And it's like, it doesn't happen. And that was like happening repeatedly. So, and for a long time. And so I'm taking it very seriously and solving that. So, anyways, and so yeah, I'm hopefully going to float like literally like a ton, but definitely more than any customer that we have, which is going to be a lot because we've got some customers that really float often. So
Mm,
super exciting. And it's just kind of a simple, I don't know, motivational way to think of it. Maybe like you're floater number one, no matter
yeah.
what. Like, come on, like you're floater number one. You fucking built this thing. You started this thing. You believe in it at a
And you
level that
deserve it.
like,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
deserve it. Like, treat yourself. Float more than anyone.
yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that does for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
me
working
too.
on getting a tank in my place too. That's going to be because, yeah, I'm like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to do it. I mean, right. If you can, like, that's amazing.
yeah. Any final words, Ryan? I really appreciate all that you shared. It was, I feel like we touched on
Yeah, I'm happy to
this
do it.
conversation that needed to happen for the industry. Appreciate it.
100%. And, I'm super happy to do it. And, and everything I'm saying, I'm literally trying to like take in myself, kind of like, I don't know, self coach. I
Yep.
happen to be on a real positive trajectory right now. There's a kind of hidden inflection point and like, you know, but yeah, I would just say, let's find again the inspiration. Let's find the
Mm,
energy again. Let's win back the energy and the inspiration. And let's, put down the stuff we like have to do or that framing and get pumped again and set a big vision, optimize around energy, optimize around customers being consistent, have less of them, have good customers. Good customers will get more good customers because you can devise a referral program, let's say, that can be an engine of growth. But like to break it down, yeah, just like energy, inspiration, purpose,
the
and
vision. Yep.
the vision.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's
I've been reflecting on that. I feel like that's been lost in not only like personally, but it's like almost the collective vision of this very small, very potent industry. It's kind of been
yeah.
foggy or muddied or just lost. It's like missing. And yeah, I fully agree. I think I'm starting to work on that. I'm starting to see that more. And it's when you return back, as we've talked about, you see the stories, you return back to your own story, you get back to your practice, and you also kind of step back from the chaos, the noise, and you're like, oh, this is actually more important. This is actually like more necessary. It's more valuable. And then you're like, oh, this is like that big vision. I think
Yeah.
it's much more
Yeah.
promising and much more beautiful than even what we started with. I think we're
Totally.
really at an inflection point
I
that's
totally agree.
powerful. Yeah.
And I'll share just a very brief anecdote. It's not a humble brag. It's just it's relevant. And I know I've told you this, but just to tie together, not like this is the
Go for
smoking
it.
gun per
Go
se,
for
but
it.
like the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl, right?
Oh,
They're
yes.
coming out to the Bay Area where Float Station is. And obviously, they're a professional football team. They have an unlimited budget with the one game that they really want to win on the line just days away. They rented out Float Station for 3 days, for like half the day for each of 3 days leading up to the Super Bowl, because that's how they feel they should be spending their time in the evenings after practice, after training, after all the film they're watching and all of that, floating, because that's what they do back at their facility at in New England. They have a practice of floating. They believe in it at that level. And so they made sure, a little while back, to reach out and make sure that they could rent out the whole facility and have a place where there was going to be no other customers. They could be completely connecting with the goal, the vision, reduce their stress, recover, do the thing that they've been doing, make sure that they continue their practice right up until game day, the biggest game of their lives. And so I just think that's highly relevant, because it's like they have an unlimited budget. If they thought that there was some better way to
Yep.
allocate those
Yep.
few hours leading up to a game that for them is worth, I don't know what number to put on it, but like, I don't know, a couple $100 million, the difference between winning, being a Super Bowl champion team leading into the next season and like all
Well,
the
that's
sales, et
your goal
cetera.
of a lifetime, right?
It's like hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. They could do anything. There is no limit. And they choose to spend these few hours floating,
Mm.
making that available to all their guys. And that's what they do at home. So, you know, that's kind of amazing.
Congrats again,
Um,
by the way. It's very cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It's super effing cool. And the coolest thing about it is like, damn, they could do anything and they're floating. Hell yeah.
And they're
That's
protecting
super.
it and they're proactive. Like think of we all
Absolutely.
need to approach it that way. Yeah. Not
Definitely.
just
They're
football
taking it,
teams.
they're taking it seriously. So it's
Yeah.
like it's super cool because the kid in me is like, oh shit, like that's awesome. But like, but the professional and the founder of this business and being the one being on this journey is like really re-inspired. Like, oh damn,
Mm.
that's a big deal. That's a
Yep.
really big deal. And like, yeah, it is. I mean, it is amazing. It's important. And like, man, and so that's just it's cool. And so, and that's the same. It's happens to be lucky that like we're really close to where the Super Bowl is being held, and like we're like the only place that they would realistically be able to like rent out and like have it work. So that's why. But this is the same with any float center. It's the same
Mm.
thing. Like it's the
Hmm.
floating. It's not float station per se. It's floating. That's what they
Yeah.
needed. So they're not. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that with
No,
everyone
thank
out
you again.
there who's
Yeah.
floating, and it's like, yo, that's the deal. And if they happen to have been floating right, or Super Bowl was right down the street from your place, they would have done the same. They would have made sure that they could have gotten their floats in, and it
Mm.
would have been, that's so it's, I don't know. I just thought I wanted to share it, and it's super, super cool. And it's a win for all of us, I think, in the space to get that level of validation. You
100%.
know? Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just really important of like contextualize that back to you with your business, to every single person. It's like, again, that's the dream of a lifetime for those players, for the coaches, everyone involved, is like whoever hasn't won that before. It's kind of like you think of the Olympians or whatever, and it's like you hit that, and then it's like, wow, like that's everything in some ways, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
what is that for the person who, bring it back to the people with chronic pain, and if they can't even imagine it, right? But if you
Yeah.
if you fight for it and you remember how necessary this is, you can help guide them, help support them to, yeah, achieve whether it's the Super Bowl or finally being pain free. Um,
Hmm.
finally reconnecting on a deeper level or having like a more calm relationship with, your family, a mom who's struggling with managing the family. Like, yeah, I think it's holding both those very big, like, uh, sort of the professional football, like the big business, all those things that there's so much value there, and also the everyday, things that are just as big. I think
Totally.
there's so much that this can do. Yeah, which makes it that potent transformational tool that we're all working towards.
Yeah. And at the risk of like beating a dead horse, I'd say this horse can't die. Like we need to continue on with this. It's like we all need to get this. Uh, let's stop trying to fit floating to people, or like, see if it's a good fit.
Mm,
No, like, and like, oh, I'm not, if the customer comes out and again, obviously I'm going to overstate this or whatever, overplay this, but like customer comes out and says, this is a customer who has pain or has trouble sleeping. Let's say, their pain point, and they say, yeah, I don't know if that's like for me, just, or like, I don't know if that was like a great fit, or I don't know if I enjoyed this aspect of it or whatever. Say, who cares? Well, like, I mean, like there's something
that's
there
the
where it's like,
stance. Yeah, yeah.
that doesn't matter. Like, this will work. Prove me wrong.
We need to get you
You
to the Super
will,
Bowl. Yeah, yeah.
you will get there, and you won't care any longer that like the salt is stingy, or something, whatever superfluous bit
Yeah.
of information there is about like it wasn't super ideal. My neck got a little while I was in there, and there was some other things, and um
Hmm.
good. Who cares? Like, what you're after is not like, I don't know. Like, if you have a real pain point, who cares? It doesn't matter. And again, floating is amazing, but like, even if it wasn't, let's like, there's that perspective. Like, floating is incredible and does what it does. Floating could be shitty, which it isn't, but it still does what it does. It's still worth selling. A pill can be bitter, but if it helps you, you take it. you,
Yeah.
you should take it. And in this case, it's hardly that. It's not, it's like, but it might not be perfect in the first time, or it might not be like, you might wish that that the Epsom salt water didn't taste like it does, so that you could drink it, or so you could, whatever that's imperfect about it is irrelevant relative to the goal that can be achieved by doing it a lot. So let's stop like, trying to like pussyfoot around, like, fitting this thing, or having to like talk someone down from like, oh no, no, sometimes can happen, but like,
Mm,
there has to be a lot. There has to be a lot of it. I know, but like, let's stay really laser focused on like, totally, that'll get better, but like, it really does this thing. So
yeah.
trust me on that, and definitely trust me on this.
Yeah.
Because while I can't guarantee that you won't get a little bit of salt water in your eye or in your mouth on every float, I can't promise that. I don't know. Maybe you're a splasher. I can't tell you you're not. But I can tell you that if you float 10 times in 10 days, like, or whatever, like,
Yep.
you're gonna get it. You're gonna
Yep.
really feel differently. That I can guarantee you. Prove me wrong. If you do that, I will give you your money back if you are completely disappointed. If you're like,
Mm,
it is bullshit, I will give you your money back, because God knows I don't want you having spent money on this at that level, getting nothing, and then going out in the world and saying it's legit bullshit.
yeah.
Because, and then you can be confident in that. If you like, I don't know. I feel like we're circling back, but like, it's important is to state like the shift in attitude, the shift in energy, the reinvigoration of confidence and so forth. I think it's really important, and I think really trying to get into that is
Well, I think
embody that. I think it's
as you were saying, I think it's like I was just thinking of like there's probably different ways you can frame it, but like, what's your Super Bowl? Like framing
yeah,
people and getting a sense of like what is the pain, what are they trying to get from it,
right,
and really framing it around. And again, not making claims or promises of when that's going to happen or anything, but like this could, in different ways, lead you to, maybe it's moonshot, right? Lead you
Oh,
on
totally.
that path. I think that's important too, is yeah, not coming in with the like, oh, I'm going to relax a little bit type of yeah,
No.
mentality.
And the other framing I was thinking of the other day that I think would be a powerful analogy to use for certain people, for a certain subset of people, would be like if you relate it to, let's say, compound interest. Like,
Hmm.
and you say, okay, I'm going to improve your level of stress, not 100%, because the world is it's a lot, but like I will give you an absolute reduction of your stress level of 20%. That's not like overstating it, and like you definitely can hit that for sure, guaranteed. 20%. But that 20% compounds over time. So with a 20% reduction of your stress level,
Yep.
you will make decisions, let's just say, that are 20% better. You will take an action 20% of the time you may have otherwise not even gone for, not have touched. Now compound that over time. And what do you have? Like you're rich by comparison. Like after a couple of years of a 20% compounded return, that's a lot. That turns into a big deal. That's like life
Yeah.
changing. And so if you really thought about it in that way, and then again, the numbers are bigger, but if you said, hey, let's be conservative, I'm not going to tell you that overnight it's going to do 100% of everything you'd want, but let's just say guaranteed it could do 20%. And you're trying to piece together a whole puzzle. You want 100%, I'll give you 20. And then you'll find 20 over here by hiking like once a week or whatever else. And another 20% by connecting with friends that you haven't talked with for years, right? And getting social again or whatever else. Piece it together. There's 100% to be found. We'll give you 20. And that's a compound return though. Like, come on. What you're talking about the money? You have 4 subscriptions currently running for services you are not using. You're paying for Peacock, Hulu, whatever else, dude. HBO Max, and you haven't watched it for weeks.
Yeah.
Cancel those, get on board with this. I'll deliver you 20% and you will not look back.
I love this
Or
energy.
I'll give you the money back and whatever, right? Like there's that. So I think that's a good framing too, because it sets an expectation that like, okay, right, we're going to try to get it 100%. How much of that pie will we be? It differs for different people. But if you do it, I can promise you 20%, and there's what that means. And it
Mm.
could be more. And for a lot of people, it is a lot more than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So
that's my experience is I talk about it kind of in terms of a baseline, like, my anxiety, my stress, like that was the 30 floats for me. The 15 float mark, it was like at least a 50% downshift of just like, woo, like slowing down. And I was like, whoa.
yeah,
And it just, and then that can become your normal baseline that then you shift down from. And it's, yeah, you can't, it's hard to put it into words and you can't put a price on it, but that, I really think that more of us need to get into that energy that you were just in, where it's like you're fighting for that person to come home
yeah,
to themselves and to experience life, to be in a very different state, which is much more enjoyable in so many
yeah,
ways. Um, yeah, I appreciate. I feel like we may have to do a part two, Ryan, because
for sure.
there's so much more that we
Absolutely.
could talk about. But yeah, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate your time today.
Dude, I appreciate the opportunity. And I think yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity in front of us collectively and individually. We do get to do this. And like, yeah, similarly, we got to do this. We should do it again. It's
Yeah,
amazing. It's a huge privilege. Yeah. So
thanks.
thanks for having me on, man.